Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the Dog Doc. And this is a new documentary from director Cindy Meal about Marty Goldstein, who is a veterinarian who takes a more holistic approach to treating animals, trying to avoid so many vaccines, so many medications, and trying to treat the immune system of animals to help them be able to fight off things on their own. And what this documentary presents is a very different outlook on how we treat animals, which is interesting because you can take it in ways of how it looks at treating just medicine in general and looking at those more holistic approaches. This film, how it's presented, hits on a couple of different kinds of levels. The main thing that you see the most of is that the audience is given a couple of specific animals, including this most adorable little dog named Waffles that you develop this connection with throughout the whole entire film. Some of these patients really thrive and are able to get things on track. Some of them, maybe for a bit, they're able to extend their life, but maybe still ending up being a very, very sad end to said animal. And you get those different stories throughout the film that allows you to not just have somebody trying to explain this to you, but you're seeing the treatments in action. And I think that's the most meaningful because it's showing you, and then you get to build a connection with these particular animal patients so that we get to see it in action and see the actual results. They do spend time with Goldstein's backstory, which I appreciate them spending minimal time with it. Because this film, the most interesting thing is not this man specifically, it's what he does. So they show enough of his backstory and his personal life to get a sense of what led this man to here and why we're here right now. And I think the film efficiently and effectively does that. In terms of the other aspects, it does show a particular scene at a convention where you're seeing anecdotally other veterinarians trying to give their perspective on things. You have a few that started out off being very skeptical of what this man does, like cryosurgery and all of these holistic things, and they kind of give us, the audience, a sense of how they were able to change their minds. The trickiest thing, though, in this film is, by the end, it really does feel like, hey, this is really basically an advertisement for this approach. And you don't have really strong constructive criticisms from outside parties in the documentary, so it's very one-sided. And that can be a really tough thing to try to portray in a documentary, because then there's a lack of roundness to the perspective, and it's very one-sided. And this film really, really leans in that way, which kind of takes away from the effectiveness of this trying to portray this as a viable way of treating animals, because you don't really get that other side. You get him, though, trying to present this to young minds at Cornell, and there's a lot of different aspects, like I mentioned, and overall, Meal is able to balance all of these things together. And there's some really powerful emotional moments, and yeah, it could be a little cheap because it's like they're animals, and it's like basically killing an animal in a movie. It's an easy, manipulative way of getting emotional reaction, but because this is about that, they really do build up that emotion for when something not so great happens. And the film does hit those emotional beats really effectively. In general, I think the Dog Doc is something that, if you're an animal lover, if you love dogs, this is definitely something to see. Just be prepared, because you know potential things could happen. But I think it's also really important because it's a way of spreading the word about potential other perspectives on things. And I think that's a good thing, even if it lacks in checking itself in the film. But those are my thoughts on the Dog Doc. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.